Hi, I'm Heather,
I'm Katie.
and we want to welcome you back to Let's Talk Foster Care. We are so excited for our next episode, and during this time, I think we just kind of wanted to share a little bit about our personal stories.
Absolutely.
And what brought us to Encourage Foster Care. I have actually been with Encourage now for almost 10 years as a recruiter of Northeast Ohio, and now also as the Director of Operations. To be honest, I wasn't even looking for this job 9.5, 10 years ago. I just always loved the heart and the mission of Christian Children's Home of Ohio, which is our residential facility within our ministries. And I would just kind of always get on their website to think, how can I help? What can I do? And I saw this position posted as a recruiter, and I thought, that's kind of interesting. If I was to be completely honest, I really don't even remember applying for this position because one thing that stuck out to me was you would have to speak in front of churches. And I am an extrovert, but I had never done that. So I was just like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But I did apply. And during, I believe it was my second interview, they asked me, why did I want to work here? And I have to be honest, I truly even believe at that time that God was kind of speaking through me. One, none of us are perfect, right? We are all imperfect, and we all have a story. And there was rough times in my life, and there were times that you wonder why, right? You wonder why you're going through the things that you're going through. And when I was asked that question during the interview, I just had said that for so long you kind of ask those questions, why? And at that moment, I no longer was doing that. I knew that through the hard times that I had been through, that God was turning it for good. And this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to share my heart, my passion, my story with others and bring them in to walk the journey of children of foster care. And I just felt this relief of God's going to use me for good. And here it's been almost 10 years. And I've been able to share the story of my life, and I have been able to share that I and my husband were also foster parents at one time. And my husband was actually adopted through foster care as a young child. So we've kind of been on all aspects of foster care. And I also have the new title as foster grandma as well. So it's beautiful. And being here at Encourage Foster Care has healed so many different parts of my life and my heart. And I even have a daughter and a son-in-law that are foster parents. So it just continues to grow. And that's why I'm super excited about this series. It's not only about sharing who we are and what we do with Encourage Foster Care, but that my story's not over yet. And these kiddos in foster care, their story is also not over yet. And how we can come together to just show their experience in Christ, their worth in Christ, and that they're going to be okay, and just to answer questions and just truly share our hearts with those out there that may be feeling pulled to also be a foster parent.
I love that. I think, something that struck me as you were just sharing even is how our stories, we're both similar in this, and so many of our staff, they started long before we arrived at Encourage's door. And we can look back and see the Lord's hand. You spoke of healing, and I'll go into this a little bit, but even in my story, it's been a place to answer some of those whys. I just loved how you highlighted that. So,
well, it's amazing to me, and as you share your story too, that is so touching, that having the experience ourselves as staff and how that is so important to our foster parents, to provide the support and to go through all the emotions, the excitement, the fear, the tears, the anger, and the whys. And I just, and to be able to lean on each other as staff as well has just been amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I met Heather as I was in the middle of our own journey. We have 5 children, We were missionaries in Guatemala, and so we adopted our youngest two from Guatemala. There you can only legally adopt from the foster care system, so we brought both of our kiddos home in different years when they were about 1 and 1.5. So a couple years after we adopted our daughter, we were actually stateside for my husband's job with the ministry we worked for in Guatemala, and we were continuing to go back and forth. So we were on one of our trips back to Guatemala and received a phone call that our daughter had a younger brother who is now adoptable, and because the government wanted to keep siblings together, we had the option to step into adopting him, and they would help make that happen quickly. So we spent a lot of time in prayer. Our kiddos had just finally adjusted to living in the States. That had been a huge transition for us, and we knew that saying yes would put us back in Guatemala for several months. So we did say yes and stepped out in what we felt like was obedience and excitement. So we went back to Guatemala for 6 months to adopt our youngest and arrived back here in the States, kind of floundering and maybe drowning a bit. He had really some needs that required some extra layers of support, and really I as a parent had to learn a new set of tools and just how to show him the love that we had in a way that could connect with him. So we were a couple months up here, had connected with some resources in the area, and I remember saying to my husband, you know, our whole life has changed. I had been homeschooling. We put our kiddos in school so that I could really focus on our son, and just saying this has to be our bottom. I really need us to go up from here. We could go lower, but let's not. And so started reaching out more and really just praying that the Lord would bring along some good Bible-based, faith-based tools that we could connect with as a family. So we found TBRI, and
Which is what?
which is trust-based relational intervention, which you will hear a lot more about in these episodes in many forms and ways. And really, it was a game changer for our family. Not an overnight fix. Not nothing in this world is quite the overnight fix. But over the next few months, as we started putting these tools into place, we found such hope and just started to see that connection that we had desired so much with our youngest. And really just as a family, we continued to grow and learn how to bond, even our biological and our adopted daughter, just really connecting. And so we were a few months into that, and I remember going to my husband. We had had a picnic, and it was one of those beautiful days, and we had had family over who had also adopted and just shared about the hope we were finding. And I was just really reveling in how it is hard and it is difficult, and there are nights where you wonder what you're doing and how you're going to come through it, and if you're even making any progress. But those little glimmers of hope, and when you see those times of connection, they're so powerful. And so it was just my husband and I cleaning up afterwards, and I felt like it was a great moment to just share with him that I had been praying about this and had found all this hope and really wondered what he would think of us stepping into foster care. And he just kind of looked at me and assessed the situation and said, no. And so I thought, okay, there's probably some wisdom in that, and we're not quite out of that hole we're pulling ourselves out of. And so at that point, though, I realized, even in his wisdom in leading us well as a family, that this was probably not the time to open our home yet. Really had a desire to take the hope that we were finding and to share it with others. I was already, as an adoptive mom, getting a lot of people coming to us and saying, hey, I've always wanted to do this, but I'm unsure of how to, and I wanted to, but it seems like it's so hard, or you hear the really rough stories. I don't know if I could do that. What would my bio kids go through? And so I started knocking on doors and saying, hey, is there some organizations out there that I could bring down to our county? I could organize an event and help host a space where people could come and find out more of what it could look like to step into foster care. And so I landed with Heather, and we were connected through a mutual friend. And we started a conversation of what that could look like. And over the next few months, just really connected on a level of having the same passion, having the same heart to, yes, see these kiddos from hard places cared for and welcomed into homes, but also to see those people that have stepped into opening their homes to kiddos, to see them supported, to see them encouraged, to see them get the resources that they need as they take each step of this journey. And so we were a few months into planning that, and Heather gave me a phone call and said, hey, how would you like to join our team and do what you're already doing to help us expand into Central Ohio? And it was an amazing moment. I remember just going to my husband and being like, you're not gonna believe what just happened.
But this time you did tell your husband to sit down, right?
I did, yes. I said, okay, you're gonna like this one. And yeah, and it has been a beautiful thing for our whole family. You know, my husband is 100% on board with helping encourage whatever needs to happen so that I can step into this job. And he's stepped in even to caring for the kiddos on days when I'm gone. And as Heather highlighted in her story, it's just been a place of healing and purpose for me for sure, but even for our family as a whole. My kids are seeing that also. It's been an encouragement to us. And so yes, I came on so excited to join a team of people who I could not agree more with their mission and more with their desire and more with how they function and just the way we support our foster families.
And just think about, Katie, and it's like, I know the story because it was you and I, right?
Yes.
And just how awesome it is when your heart is telling you, you're being led, but you don't know where to begin. You don't know where to start. And you just calling and asking that question, where you are today and a part of our team and how God had his hand in that. Because now we have the opportunity to grow in Central Ohio along with Northeast Ohio. But, and that's part of this series, part of this Let's Just Talk Foster Care, because there are so many questions and there's so many emotions to families, to children, to the brokenness. And I thank God every day that you called and that we were connected. You know, just to work alongside of you and to be able to do this video series together and to just really show our hearts for what we do and who we are. And I want to encourage you, if you do have those questions, you know, just call us. We are real. We are real people with real stories and doing real things, and we want to be able to answer questions. We want to be able to talk to you. We want to be able to share our stories and more in depth with families that have a heart to help. And it may not be fostering, it may be supporting, it may be you know, being a mentor. There's just so many different ways that people can help, but just, you know, I just want to encourage you to make that call because you never know where God's going to lead you and how God's going to use you.
And I love that because we are excited to share to hear your questions and to share what we have learned along the way. But as Heather highlighted in the beginning, we are all still imperfect parents. We are all still growing and learning. We all still have our own questions in this. And so come join our conversation as well. We are talking about this as friends. We are talking about this as coworkers. We're talking about this as an agency, and we are growing and learning. And that is the beauty of the jobs that we have and what we get to do in walking alongside our families is we all get to grow and learn together and encourage and support each other along the way.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed our second episode in this video series, and we look forward to our next one.
In our next episode, we are going to dive into the world of foster care, what the need is in our area, and what sets Encourage apart. Please continue to send in your questions. We want to hear from you. You can email us, you can give us a call. Check out our website again at encouragefostercare.org/let's talk.
And if you have any other ideas or suggestions for episodes, we'd love to hear them.